Hey guys, so I'm not sure if I have talked to you guys about this, but I have been corresponding. It's a funny word. I like that word. Corresponding with people on the Carers UK forums. And I want to show you some of the things that they've said. But the more I think about it, the more it's actually helping me. Believing that is actually helping me. Because as you guys know, I've always believed that I had no choice but to be my mum's carer because I was all she had. And I thought it made me a bad daughter if I, didn't agree to be her carer, I'd be a bad person. So I will admit I was kind of kept, doing it because of that. But let's see. I'm just going to read off the latest ones. So I've told them about a bit about my childhood as well, like I was homeschooled and stuff. I meant to have these read off to me last night. This is going to be exciting, isn't it?
You need a sharp reality check. You're heading very fast towards homelessness.
Here you go.
You have no qualifications, no work history, no proper sense of time. You are currently utterly unemployable.
That's rude.
You won't be able to claim any benefits unless you spend all your day actively looking for work. My eldest son is an engineer, works for the council. Every third week he is on early shift. His alarm clock goes off at 4:30 a.m.
Good God.
Come rain, shine, or even snow, he has to be at the depot 14 miles away by 5:45 a.m. He'd far rather be home tinkering with our vehicle collection, but he needs money to live. He started an apprenticeship at 16 and has worked full-time ever since, never claiming benefits.
See, I've noticed that happens a lot where people start working about 16 and usually an unpaid job, usually at a charity shop, to have some kind of work experience before they go on to whatever proper official job that they end up doing. Whereas I never did that, of course, because, I was never encouraged to do that. The only thing I was really encouraged to do when I was younger is, my education stuff. So learning, schooling. That's what I was encouraged to do. The only thing I was pretty much encouraged to do, apart from my art and music, of course, which I suppose would be part of that. I mean, my mum was concerned about my career. I know these people like to say that, my mum was a bad mother and she neglected me and stuff, but I mean, for the most part, when I was younger, she used to go on about education and she used to go on about, me having a career and stuff. So you can't say she completely neglected that sort of area. But I guess I was the one who resisted it. So eventually she did just allow me to do my own devices. She left me to my own devices eventually because it was just too stressful after a while for both of us. So she sort of left me to my own devices, but I did actually start to read books and look at things on the internet to educate myself. It's just that I obviously don't have a formal education, so I don't have any degrees or GCSEs or whatever the hell qualifications that people usually get, and diplomas and stuff. I don't have fancy pieces of paper, but I do have skills, I do have talents and stuff, so surely I could make a career out of my talents and skills that I have, like drawing and playing piano and so on and so forth, and writing. I think I'm pretty decent at writing as well. I didn't think I would be pretty decent at writing, but I think I am. So I could write books and stuff. maybe I could earn money from like doing blogs and stuff, because apparently I've heard that you can earn money from doing blogs. I don't know how that works, but apparently you can.
I understand that your mum has serious mental health issues and didn't bring you up very well, but now you are 18, that is irrelevant. You need to start thinking very clearly about a future without mum before she dies. Otherwise, you will end up homeless on the streets.
See, that's another thing. How exactly would that work? How do they figure that I would be homeless if I continued to live with my mother until she dies? Because, you know, reality check, she has put in place a will so that I will not only inherit this house, but I will also inherit, you know, money. And from what she's told me, it's, you know, it's a decent amount of money. It's not like a pittance or anything, because I guess she got life insurance or whatever, so I would be claiming the life insurance that she's put in place. And she told me how much that it was. So surely, you know, that would be, you know, a decent start. So I wouldn't be homeless. First of all, I would inherit this house. I mean, are they under the impression that my mum is so severely mentally impaired, as they said, that they, you know, she hasn't thought about, you know, like putting anything in place for after she dies for me to benefit off? Because that is incorrect. You know, she has put in place stuff for me. I mean, she has had mental problems, but that was just from depression and stuff. It didn't stop her from doing her best. Like, as much as everyone keeps trying to tell me that my mum, you know, is abusive or whatever, she has, I believe that all these years she may not have done it perfect, but she's, you know, done her best to ensure that I'm looked after for the future. She did try her best to, like, virtually force me to do things regarding my education, so that I would have an education behind my belt, so I would have the skills and know-how to survive in the adult world. And, you know, she tried to encourage me to get a career and stuff, and we've been thinking about it all these years as to what career path I should go down. And eventually we kind of settled on my being an artist. At one point I wanted to be an actor. My mum actually kept trying to encourage me to get a job as like a trade, like a builder or a plumber or an electrician, you know, stuff like that. And I thought, oh no, that's like gross. I wouldn't do a job like that. It sounds too, I don't know, what's the word? Like, I wanted a more glamorous job. It didn't seem very glamorous. It seemed quite, you know, like a tradesperson, isn't it? So it's sort of a more messy, dirty job. Not a very glamorous job, so I didn't really want to do that. And another thing that she encouraged me to do, which came out of nowhere because we've never spoken about anything like this, was me becoming a lawyer. And she said I could do it. I said I couldn't do it, and she said I could. I remember that. That was not that long ago. That was actually a few years ago. Something you can lay around and people can serve you. Yeah, that's what I wanted to be. I didn't want to be an electrician or whatever. Definitely not a plumber. I mean, that's even more disgusting and messy. And if she knew me at all, she'd know that I wasn't the kind to get down and dirty and messy. So anyway, so this person here, this bowling bun here, is saying I have no skills. I'm completely unemployable, I've got no qualifications, and I'm heading very fast towards homelessness. I thought, well, I've literally above here talked about all my skills. See, that's my post there. If you want to pause it like afterwards and read it, properly, you can do. I'm not going to read it all off. I'm just literally reading off the bits that they've said, you know, since then, the latest replies. This one I was talking about, like, all my skills, like as an artist, and playing piano and accordion and violin, which I'm practicing doing, and writing my books, my autobiography and my stories about Jeremiah. And they've not acknowledged that at all. They just say I'm pretty much doomed. They're dooming me, and I don't really appreciate being doomed. They're pretty much dooming me to a life of homelessness. I've got no qualifications and I'm unemployable and I have no sense of time or whatever. What do they mean when they say I've got no sense of time, by the way? I mean, you are talented as an artist. So maybe marketing or illustrator or companies. Yeah, I mean, I could create banners for people. I could create book covers for people. I could illustrate people's books, like if they're doing a children's book or just an illustrated book. I could do that, or there's loads of jobs I could do as an artist, and maybe a musician. Maybe I could record music for people. Maybe they can hire me as an artist on a like an animation company. Maybe I could work for them, because although I can't animate, I could learn to animate, which I am, like I say, I'm trying to teach myself how to animate with the help of courses, online courses, and YouTube videos. And even if I don't animate, like even if I don't get hired as an animator, I could do like backgrounds and stuff, because they do hire artists to do backgrounds for animated films and what have you, don't they? I didn't know that. I to be honest with you, I thought that they're like the actual animators. Do you know what I used to think when I was younger? When I used to watch animations very closely. Like most people would just watch an animated film or program, and they would just they wouldn't like think about it critically. I used to be like, how the hell do they do all of that, like with the background and make everything like not move? I thought that they literally just did the thing where they drew one thing after the other after the other after the other, like they do to make a character move. But I thought they did that with the background as well, where the background, they would just draw it over and over again, so each frame was the background drawn and coloured over and over and over and over again. And I thought, oh my god, that sounds... But no, apparently not. Apparently they actually they have an artist to actually do a background, and the background doesn't move, the background stays as it is, and they create a separate layer to do the characters moving and what have you. So I remember thinking, yeah, I mean, I could do that. I could do that. I could design... Shut up. I could design and draw backgrounds for animated films and stuff. I could try my hand at animating. I could learn. I could have an apprenticeship at an animation company, and I could do animations and learn how to do that. I mean, there's lots of things I could do, surely, with my talents, but these people are like dooming me to homelessness and unemployment. I mean, I don't want to do a menial job. I mean, if I have to, I mean, I suppose I could just do like a shelf stacker job, or work at McDonald's. Like in the meantime, if I ever needed money, like, dead quick. But anyway, I'm gonna have this read off some more. Let's see what the others said, because I haven't read all the others.
2. Reply. Helena under 3D. Lord J, I have to agree with BB.
I'm not gonna lie, I like the fact that everybody so far is actually calling me Lord Jeremiah. I told them all that my actual title is Lord, so they all actually call me Lord. They don't just call me Jeremiah, they call me Lord Jeremiah every time. Every single person has called me Lord Jeremiah. So I'm really like happy that they're actually using my title, because most people wouldn't be happy about that, would they? Like, if you're not a real lord, we're not going to call you that. And it's like, well, that's my name, so you've got to call me that. It's there.
BB. I left home at 16 and lived in a bedsit. I worked in admin at my local VAT office, and I set 2 alarms to make sure I was in work on time. You do need to learn some self-discipline. When I had the businesses and we ran courses at a hotel near Birmingham Airport, I was up mega early to make sure we got there in time to set everything up. Yes, it would be an adjustment and would not be easy initially, but it can be done. With regard to working in a charity shop, why not?
Right, I'm just going to comment on that. Okay, so she's talking about adjusting myself, so I actually, have self-discipline so that I can go to bed early and get up early. I mean, how it's very important. I will admit, when I was a teenager, well, let's go back even further than that. When I was a child, like a toddler. I used to get up at about 8 a.m. or 8 a.m. every day. I was up at that time, but everybody else would be asleep. And I remember being quite annoyed about that because I was up and I wanted everybody else to be up as well so that we could start the day. Because I was trapped in my bedroom, like I couldn't get out. The door was closed and I didn't know how to open it as a toddler. So I remember I was like really impatient wanting my mum to get up so that we could start the day. And I'd have to wait. And instead of going back to bed, like, I probably would do today, I wouldn't go back to bed. I would just wait and wait and wait and be quite annoyed that everybody wasn't up. And I remember every time I heard a car go by, I used to think that my mum would get up shortly after. I don't know why. That was just like a belief that I had at the time, that whenever I heard a car go by, that my mum would get up. I don't know why. I just remember being in my nursery and just being like, oh, where are they all? I want to go up. I want to eat. I want to do stuff. I want to play. Because I don't think I had anything in my room to occupy myself with. So I was bored in there. I really wanted to get out of that room. But then when I was older, like probably like 6, 7, 8, I used to get up later. I used to get up at about 12 or 1 o'clock. And then when I was a teenager, I started getting up like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the evening. No later than that, though. But then when I was an older teenager, like 17, 18, 19, I started getting up earlier. So I actually disciplined myself to get up earlier. And I started getting up at 11, 10, 11, 12. So I was very proud of myself. And for some reason, as I've got older, I've started going to bed and getting up later again, like again 3 p.m. Usually about that time in winter, but then in the summer, in the nice weather, I would get up earlier. So usually about 1, 2 o'clock again. But now for some reason, the last few years, I've really struggled to get up early. I've completely lost discipline, completely. And I go to bed at like 6, 7 in the morning and get up like in the afternoon again, and I feel really bad about that. I can't seem to do it anymore. I was able to do it when I was younger, but I can't do this anymore. So believe it or not, I did once have self-discipline, but for some reason as I've got older, I've not been able to have that anymore, and I feel dead bad about it. But well, bad because usually if I'm going out, I miss the shops, or it's like I have to get up and immediately make dinner and I don't have time I want to do. But at least I know I can do that throughout the evening and night and early hours of the morning, and that's when I usually do my drawings and my instrument, the playing of. I'll show you what I've done so far, if you like, my drawings. So I did another panel on this one, remember this one? So I've done another panel on this one. She's on top of him. I don't think this is how you measure people for clothes. Get off. I'm going to redo her. She looks shite. I'm not happy with the way she looks, though. She's supposed to look like that. So cute. Okay, that's that one. So I did that last night. And I did this one last night as well. And I did one upstairs. That's where we're up to last time. So I did 2 panels last night. I did this one. So that's him telling her off about knocking over the booze. And that's him going to slap her. I don't know how to draw people slapping people, so I'm sorry if it looks shite. I've never done it before. But that's what I did last night, and I did some playing of the accordion. So I will admit I'm disciplined in the way. I am proud of myself because even though I go to bed early and late and then get up late, I still manage to do all my drawings and I practice piano every day. So, and I've been decluttering the house, but I've been doing it at night. So I feel really like proud of myself for that. And I've been playing with my toys again, which I miss doing because I've got loads of toys that I just don't bother with. So I've been starting to do that, and I've been starting to read my books and educating myself. So I'm giving myself an education as well. So I actually feel quite proud of myself, even though I've not been getting up early and going to bed early. I still, doing useful things and doing things that are going to benefit me, Leia is not a bad option. Laying about, I mean, you are really talented as an artist, so maybe marketing, illustrator, yes, animation, book factory as well, animated cells on top of each other, yeah. Apprentice would be good because you get paid same time as you work. So as an apprentice, you do get paid. I thought it was like unpaid. That's why I don't really want to work for nothing, if I'm honest. I feel like I would literally just be a slave, even though it would benefit me because I would get work experience and build skills up. But I still think I should get paid for it, though. Get paid for labor. Hope it'll work now.
Not. You would learn how to work a till and build up relationships with the staff, and it would help you find employment because it would give a reference. I do hand on heart think you need to look for a counsellor, a safe place to chat through your options.
Sounds good.
Your GP might be able to refer you, but there may well be a waiting list.
It doesn't matter.
My local carers have a counselling organisation that they can refer carers to. It might be worth investigating this if you have a local caring organisation.
Not really. I don't
Sadly,
have
I
that.
did not progress this, because for me getting out at the same time each week, given my husband's medical issues, is not viable right now. Please think about the suggestions BB and I and others too have given you. Reply. Cool. Law 2D. Hi, I feel like I should say something because we are in somewhat similar situations.
Cool.
I too am into art, animation, and being creative. It was what my degree was in before I did my master's in English. The industry is hard and it is competitive, so you need to be good and you need to be on it. Not saying you're not. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of hard work, dedication, and knowledge of the craft. Yes, you see YouTubers get instant success, but there are so many years of practice before that.
Really?
A simple YouTube video takes knowledge of lighting, editing, mise-en-scene, an interesting topic, and personality. You don't learn that overnight. Expecting to get work straight away doesn't happen really. I would say you need to consider other avenues first. Whilst I was in uni, I worked in a shoe shop, then during COVID I worked on the deliveries at Asda 6 days a week. I was still in uni, my dad was diagnosed with cancer then, and I became his carer.
Oh no.
I had to wake up at 2 a.m. every day during this time. It was hard, but it was just something I had to do. I later lost that job as it was only temporary. Then during 2021, I got a job at McDonald's, and 2 weeks later, I was offered a job as journalist where I worked both 3 days a week before I was later offered full-time as a journalist and have been there since. I haven't turned back. Throughout uni I practiced my craft. I attended events at my uni and made friends with a local producer and BBC presenter who offered me lots of opportunities. I still see him all the time since his hometown is where I work. I also say it because it shows it doesn't happen quickly. On the aside, I do make a few things, but they have never made much money. But I do it out of joy and love for the craft. It also helps to know that people appreciate my work. I also get it at work. If someone says thank you for an article or I see my work in a shop window, it warms my heart because I know I have helped someone. I have never been on benefits myself, but I have dealt with my mums. Look at your local council and find out what the local housing allowance rate is for a single person. This is a good what you see will put towards the cost of rent. You can then look for somewhere in that budget, but you can top up if you need to. Also consider the website spare room. It's usually cheaper. There is little chance of a council house since the system has been inundated, but try to get yourself on the list anyway, and in a few years you may be in a better position. In the meantime, try not to be focused on one thing and explore your options. It's great you are creative, but be realistic. If you are determined, you will get there. Reply. Pet 66. 2D. I did shift work for many years, and so did hubby. It can play havoc with the body clock, but has advantages. We had 2 children to care for too. Eventually, through no fault of my own, had to work in an office. No computer skills and was very anxious. Took myself off to a basic computer course. Even though I say it myself, I came on in leaps and bounds. When my husband died, I had to learn different skills, like sorting maintenance for the house garden, etc. It can be done even when older. I still use my little alarm clock, not my phone, which was very inexpensive. I suggest you purchase one and gradually alter your body clock to sleeping at night and using the day to sort out your chances of a reasonable life. My childhood was difficult. I understand yours was too. Don't let it take away your chance of achievement. 3. Rep-
I wouldn't say that my childhood was difficult, but it was just different. I think the only thing that really made it difficult is that people kept reporting us to the LEA because they didn't think that my mum was doing a very good job of educating me, even though she was. Every day we did lessons. Either did them upstairs in that room I told you about called the zoo, aka my playroom that has all my books and educational stuff in it. I had a little school desk and we had a little like a black board and chalks and stuff, and even a whiteboard as well, which were both on stands. You know, they were like proper like a little playhouse version of school equipment, and a little chair and everything. And we went either into the zoo slash playroom, or we'd do lessons at the kitchen table in the kitchen that you well know, because you've seen it several times. We were doing that every day and we were doing pretty well. We enjoyed it. We weren't stressed. We were happy doing that. My mum just did pretty much taught me the basics like reading, writing, and arithmetic. That was pretty much it. And anything else that I needed or wanted to know, when I learnt to read, I could read the books. My mum also took me out into the world and taught me things. She would have talks with me, so it wasn't always just in the schoolroom that she would give me lessons. She also, like I say, we had a lot of talks where she would educate me on things, and if I had questions, she would answer them in great detail. So, no, I resent the people who saying that my mum didn't bring me up very well and that they think that she didn't educate me very well, because actually she did. It's just that somebody reported us to the LEA when I was about, I don't know what age I was, about 9 or 10 or something. And they were on us like, you know, hogs on mud. You know, they were like absolutely adamant that they were going to make our lives as hard and stressful as hell. So my mum started faltering them because she was under a lot of stress, and my mum had the tendency to panic, especially when authority was in the picture, because, you know, my mum had like a lot of bad experiences with authority. So now she panicked. So she seemed on the surface quite put together and calm and in control, but I know her, and I know that inwards she was stressing out and panicking and falling to pieces. So because I could sense this, even though she wasn't being, she was being sort of hard on me at the time, but she wasn't really like yelling and screaming at me or anything, but she would get like really annoyed if I answered questions wrong when we were doing the lessons, and because of all of this, it became really stressful. She explained to me that the reason why she was, you know, pushing me so hard was because of the LEA and how they were on us like a hawk, trying to make sure that she was educating me properly. And it just became really like full of pressure and stress. So eventually she sort of gave up. Not gave up on me per se, but gave up because it was putting too much stress on us both. And it wasn't doing either of us any good, because that's how the school system is. The school system is too stressful, and I don't think it would have been good for me. That's one of the reasons why she decided to homeschool me. A lot of people think that that's a bad thing, but a lot of people have really terrible dim views on home education. But if done right, it can be very, very rewarding, and it can produce the same, if not better, results as a school system. There was a few people, not on this site, but on another thing, somebody was talking about being homeschooled, and people commented on that. I think it was on Twitter, and they were talking about how usually the reason why parents will homeschool their children is because they have an agenda. Like usually these crazy people like the flat earthers and anti-vaxxers and people like that. Usually the insane parent type. But no, that's not always the reason. In our case, in my mum's case, the reason why she decided to homeschool me because a teacher literally told her that it would be better. My mum would go around to schools trying to enroll me into school, and the teachers all told her that literally they couldn't guarantee me a decent education because of how many students per class there were, and they wouldn't be able to give, well, they said that they couldn't guarantee that I will get a good education because they couldn't focus on me like personally like they could if there was fewer students per class. They could, if any students were struggling at a subject, they could like give them, extra attention or whatever, that sort of thing. So they literally suggested that my mum homeschool me because then the one-on-one interaction and education would ensure that I would get the attention that I needed to make sure that I could learn each subject to the full extent of how much I needed to learn it. So that it was actually teachers that suggested that my mum homeschool me, and my mum decided, okay, I'll take that on board, and she started researching, and she ended up becoming a member of the what's it called, Education Otherwise EO. She became a member of the EO, so she got a lot of help from fellow home educators, and the idea was for us to go to like regular meetings so that the home educating parents could, get together and chat and become friends and compare notes, and all the homeschool children could also do the same, get together and play together and make friends with each other. And they also had like organized events and trips and holidays and stuff that you could do, where everybody would pay a little bit towards it so that everybody could go on holidays without having to pay the full amount. So yeah, like organized, like you get with schools, you get like, I mean, I don't know if they do this here in England, but I know in America they do like field trips. They have field trips, so they have days out or even holidays where the school will organize and pay for either days out or like proper holiday type things and other activities as well that are extracurricular. Well, that's what the EO did. The Education Otherwise people do the same thing. I would recommend homeschooling for definite, because you do have a good support system with that. You just have to research it. It's not about like, there was this video that Daz Watches covered where it was basically like free range. So it's where they homeschooled their children, but they just left their children to their own devices so that the children would just basically learn on their own, like wild animals. A lot of people wouldn't recommend that. They need some kind of structure, obviously, and like proper lessons each day. But I mean, unlike with school, we didn't have lessons that lasted about 8 hours, because obviously they had to go from class to class to class. They do math, English, history, biology, geometry, geography, and they have like a million different classes and several languages and stuff, like French, Spanish, and German usually are the ones that they learn. I don't know why, because these days, you need to learn Chinese and, Indian languages, because it's like, when are you going to learn French, and when are you going to need French, Spanish, and German? Like, come on, man. When people travel, they usually travel to Spain, I suppose. So Spanish is not many, I don't know. And you've got all these immigrants that come here. Do you know what I can't stand? I can't stand when you go to a shop and they're speaking in their own language. I can't stand that, because they could be saying anything about you. They could be calling you names. They could be insulting, be gossiping about you. It's ignorant. It's ignorant for people to speak in their own language in front of people who might not be able to understand. So me and my mum, I remember me and my mum used to talk about this a lot, and she used to say how great would it be if you knew Indian or Chinese, and when you were in the presence of them, you could pretend like you didn't know what they were saying, and then suddenly just before you leave, say something in their language to acknowledge that they are talking about you, and they're like, "Oh shit, she understood everything we said. We better be careful." It's like, yeah, that would be so cool. So I did actually decide to learn Chinese. So I am currently learning Chinese as well for the past few years. I'm not sure about Indian though, because Indian's like really hard because you have, well, so is Chinese. Because with both languages, you have to learn a different alphabet as well as the actual words themselves, both reading and listening and speaking. So it can be quite hard. But I decided on Chinese. I did want to learn Chinese since I was about 2 years old, but my mum couldn't find anything regarding, any books or anything. She tried asking a bunch of Chinese people if they could help me. But yeah, it didn't work out too good. Anyway, so I'm not gonna, as much as these people are all telling me that it's not done me any good being home educated and that my mum didn't really do a good job, I'll still always stand by home education. I think if done properly, it can be really rewarding, and it can be, I'm going to go out and say it's better than mainstream schooling. Because with mainstream schooling, you have to deal with bullies and, like those teachers said to my mum, they can't guarantee that your child will get a decent education because there's so many students to classes, and the only benefits I can say to actually schooling is that you do get all that social interaction. You're like, you have to be at a place every day, so that teaches sort of discipline. You have to be up at a certain time and you have to be out and go to a place every day, so that kind of prepares you for the work environment, where you have to get up early and you have to be at a building at a certain time of day, and then, like I say, you're always sort of like around a bunch of other people your own age and older or younger, so you kind of get that social, what's it no, whatever the word is, you get used to, social environments with lots of people around, and it probably improves your social skills. Although with some people that doesn't work, like Becky, for instance, had a terrible time in school, and she reckons it didn't do her any favors at all. She was just constantly bullied, and it actually caused her to be even more like going within herself and basically be more introverted. I think I will probably have the same problem at school. I'd probably end up being bullied. Imagine me going to school with these hooligans though around here. Like, all it would have done was given me self-esteem problems, and it would have forced me to not be myself. Like, a good thing about being homeschooled is that you're free to be yourself because there's not always bullies around. So obviously I did get bullied anyway because the local hooligans would just come here. So instead of me going to school and getting bullied, they would just all come here and give me a hard time. But at least it wasn't as bad as like if you went to school and you got literally beat up or thrown into a locker or given a swirly or whatever, or tied to a flagpole. That happens. My only knowledge of school is from movies and stuff. So yeah, of course that's mainly American. But anyway, so the other benefits of school are that they do events, and you can get help and like mentored and everything. And they do things like debate clubs and stuff, so that you can sort of hone in your debating and arguing skills, and you can form strong opinions and stuff. It encourages you to like exercise your supposed free speech, even though I don't really believe that you have free speech these days. By the way, I was thinking about it. You know how if we'd have lost the war, basically we would have been taken over by Germany. We'd be speaking German, and everything would be everything would be like German controlled. Well, you do know everything's exactly the same now, right? It's just that instead of being controlled by Germany, we're pretty much controlled by other countries. So up until we left the EU, it was Russia that we had to kowtow to, and we had to follow their rules. And now it's pretty much America. Everything's American. Phones are American. Computers are American. Everything's American, like Patreon and Facebook and YouTube and a bunch of other things. They're all American. So whenever I try and type in the word carer on my phones, it wants to autocorrect it to cater. And it's like, why does it do that? And I've just recently learnt that carer is not an American word. I don't know what Americans call carers, but apparently carer is not in their vocabulary. So I think, so what the hell do they call carers then? So whenever I try and type in the word carer, it either wants to put the word career, cater, or cashier, I think. Yeah. So it doesn't like the word carer, and I'm like, when that happened, I immediately thought, well, everything's been taken over by America. Everything's American. So it's no different, right, now than it would have been had we lost the war. Like, everything's the same. It's like, what did all those people die for? What did all those people have to suffer for? Because obviously it wasn't just the people who were in the war that died. It's also people at home died as well from bombings and arrests and stuff, or just being killed in the street by enemy soldiers. It's like all of that happened for no reason, because we're pretty much just taken over by other countries now anyway. And of course nobody has noticed, but we're now taken over by the LGBT and Indian people, because they do, unlike people like Hitler and the Nazis and stuff. These people all do it very subtly. So they start off by just moving in on an area. So what they do is a bunch of them will buy a house here on the street, say for instance, and they'll move their entire family in. And then one by one, every time a house goes up on sale, they'll look out for that and they'll buy the next house that comes up for sale. And then another house comes up for sale, they'll buy that, and another house will come up for sale, they'll buy that, until eventually the whole street is taken over by Indians. So they do, like I say, they don't come at you with bombs and guns and stuff. They just do it subtly. So, like, we've never had Indians on this street, but now they're beginning to take over. The street behind us has a few Indians, and now the street, my actual official street, has a whole family living in one sort of biggish house that, by the way, it's rent. I didn't even know it was a rented house. It's like £1,000 a month, and they have like 3 cars, so it's like a huge family living there. Like, I've only ever seen 2 of them plus a child, but there must be more of them, more than 2 adults living there, because there's 3 massive expensive cars. And they don't even have a bin, so they've got like bags of rubbish just piling up in there on their drive, which I can see because it's I don't know, I can see in, not deliberately obviously, but I can see in, because even though they've got like a fence and stuff, if I look out my bedroom if I look out the top windows, I can kind of see in their drive, and I can see through the little slats and holes that they've got in their gate. So I can see that there's bags of rubbish piled up, and they've got like 3 cars plus a van. So yeah, it's not always there. That van's not always there, but sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. So I can see there's like a whole family living there. And you can guarantee that eventually, when each house comes up for sale on this street, one of them will buy it. One of the adults will buy it. They must have a shit ton of money as well. And I've now learned from these programs that me and my mum watched, Benefits Britain and things like that. These foreigners, they'll claim as many benefits as they can between each member of the family, like houses built there. And like I say, the benefit system. And they'll get work as well, like decent work where they make a lot of money. So they don't even need benefits. But they will just do, what's the word? They'll like diddle the system so they get benefits. And they say this openly on a documentary. which is benefits Britain. They actually say it openly what they're doing, their plans. And they're like, oh, right, well, yeah, okay, great. Like, we can't do anything about it, can we? Because, you know, if we say something about it, they'll fucking shout racism, won't they? They'll say, oh, you're prejudiced because we're this nationality or this race. So we technically can't do fuck all about it because suddenly we'll be racist. And this is how they're doing it. And now we've got them in Parliament, and now I think currently our Prime Minister is Indian. But we can't moan about that or anything because suddenly we'll be racist. But technically they have successfully taken over Britain. But nobody sees this because everyone is so blinded by not wanting to be racist and not wanting to be prejudiced that suddenly we're being taken over by other countries and we have to follow their rules. It's like, well, look, they're very clever. Like I say, they don't come at you with guns and bombs like Germany tried to do. They just do it really subtly. They do the whole racism agenda thing. They ride on that. And then when suddenly we're in a position where we can't do anything about it because they've already taken over, when you finally realise what's actually going on, you can't do fuck all about it because you know you're going to be called racist. And anybody who says otherwise is part of the blinded community. That's why it pisses me off, because everybody else has done it so far. Every other oppressed minority has done it, gotten to a point where they are accepted by the general populace where they probably wouldn't have been before. So that's why it pisses me off when people like my people are still being oppressed and hated. I'm like, why don't my people speak up and get angry and do all these revolutions and everything? But they don't. They'd rather just be quiet, which proves they're a good people. And if you don't know what people I'm referring to, I'm talking about like furries. Furries are still amongst one of the most hated subcultures in the universe, but they don't seem to mind. They're not trying to become accepted. Like, for the very first time, I've seen an article about furries on this community that I'm a member of, which is, you know, FET. It's called FET. It's a dating app for, you know, kinky people. And there doesn't seem to be many furries on there. But for the first time since I've joined it, I've seen an article pop up about furries. But it's not stayed up for very long. It's disappeared. But it was all about talking about, you know, like how furries really are, like actually educating people about how furries really are, and they're not, it's nothing to do with fucking bestiality like everybody keeps saying it is. And they're not sexual deviants. I know it's like even a FET thing here is actually talking about it and going on about how they're like, they are kinksters or whatever. They're not. Furry is not a kink or a fetish. I don't care what people say. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's akin to children liking to pretend to be and dress up like animals. It's just innocent. Of course, you get your people who do make it into a kink and make it into a sexual deviant thing, but that's just like a fraction of the community. I mean, I got into furries when I was 14, and it was in no way a sexual thing for me. You get your people who draw sexy art, you know, fair enough. And you can't call it bestiality because furries aren't even animals. And when people dress up as furries, they're not dressing as animals technically. They're dressing up as these anthropomorphic creatures, which are part human, mainly human, with animal features. I mean, they keep saying it's animals with human features, but that would mean they were predominantly animal looking with like human features, like being able to speak or walk upright. But no, they're mainly humans with animal features, actually. So if anybody does sexualize furry characters, it's just the human side of them. They're still humans and they can consent, because apparently I've learned that the reason why, apparently I never knew this, but the reason why bestiality is illegal, apparently. Don't quote me on this, but this is what I've heard. Is because animals can't consent. Apparently, that's the reason why bestiality is illegal. I thought it was just because interspecies sex was disgusting and bad and wrong and gross, but apparently it's a consent thing. So in other words, what they're saying is if the animals could consent, then it's okay for a human to have sex with an animal. I think that's bullshit, but whatever. Let's go by their logic. Let's for what's its sake, for argument's sake, let's just say that that is the one and only reason why having sex with an animal is illegal. It's the consent issue. They can't consent. Even though they can with body language, but whatever. Because how else they have sex with each other? They have sex using body language. They consent to each other by using body language. Otherwise, it means all animals are just raping each other whenever they have sex. Not true. But whatever. Okay, so if it's a consent issue, they can't literally say the word yes. Even though, from my knowledge, when people have sex, even consensual sex, they don't go, "May I have sex with you?" "Yes, please do." Like, I've never heard anyone say that. You see movies and sitcoms, they just do it. They just start kissing and get on with it. They don't ask each other, "Oh, me lady, may I please have sex with you?" "Yes, kind sir, you may." Like, I've never heard that, but whatever. Never heard of that, but whatever. So there we go. So apparently consent is the thing. So say for instance that is the reason, the one and only reason why humans and animals can't have sex. Because they can't literally say the word yes. What are furries? Furries are mainly humans. They can talk. And they can consent. So if somebody, say for instance, were to have sex with a furry, the furries can literally consent. So how is it bestiality? Because apparently that's what makes bestiality wrong, is the consent thing. So using their logic, the people who say why bestiality is wrong, which is the consent thing, how is it wrong when a furry can literally consent because a furry is literally a human and can literally speak and think logically? So there you go. There's the whole bestiality and furries relation being debunked, because a furry is literally a human. Even if it's a human dressing as an animal or a part furry, part human hybrid thing, it predominantly thinks like a human, can talk, can consent. So how the hell is it bestiality then? If it's two humans having sex with each other, but one is dressed like an animal or both are dressed like an animal, they are literally humans. I don't understand furry hate either, Issa. It's dumb. Alright, I'll read some stuff. School can be rough. Raccoons are happy at living in the night because all the noisy normies are sleeping. Yeah. No, as an apprentice you get paid, but the amount is little lower. And then you get your profession studies, your pay will rise. Okay, cool. Raccoons are great. Things are getting bad. It's always much cheaper to live on ground in one house. You can share the expenses between all people living there. Yeah, that's what I've always thought. Sounds great. How about taste tester on an ice cream or candy factory as a job? If I ever hear about that, I will do it for definite. It keeps saying I've got another comment here, but it's not showing it. Anyway, so I'm just going to leave this to play out because it's quite... I've got to go check on the food. I'll be right back, okay? I'm really sorry.
Reply. Dennis score 1610. 1D. Lord Jeremiah. but she had to provide them with proof, so she pushed back.
Hey, the funny thing is, my other text-to-speak thing used to pronounce it Jeromia. This actually pronounced it Jeremiah. Cute or what?
She was stressed because they were hounding her, and I was stressed because she was pushing me to do things the LEA wanted to do, so in my eyes the LEA were the evil villains. I just wanted to do my own thing. Your mum did you no favour by withholding you from a school education.
Rubbish.
There is more to school than being taught life skills. It also involves social interaction.
Rubbish.
And that also applies to further education.
All right, okay. So you think that the children going to school are interacting socially? I have observed school-age children. All they do is sit around and play on their fucking phones. How is that socializing? That is not socializing. If you can do that when you're homeschooled, you can just sit around talking to people on a phone. And I've even heard that they're actually talking to each other. So the very people they're actually hanging around with, they're talking to on the phone. That is not social interaction, and you may as well just be homeschooled to do that. I can talk to whoever I want homeschooled because I can go on the internet and talk to people. That's exactly what these school children are doing. They're just talking to each other, but on the phone instead of actually talking to the people that they're with, or they're talking to other people. So they're talking to other people that they're not with while they are supposedly with their friends. But they're not interacting with the friends, they're talking to other people on the phones. If not checking social media or playing games, that's not interacting socially. But yeah, Issa, I think that furry people should stand up for themselves, and I think they should form a revolution and become accepted like the LGBT people did. I don't understand why furries are being so peaceful about this and just accepting the hate.
Mentioned previously, you would do well to enroll on a college course of interest to you. You had a bad start in life, but it is not too late to make amends.
It's not really a bad start.
Lord Jeremiah. She will often refuse to do something I ask or suggest her to do, but then later I find out she actually did it. So to my face she resists and argues, but then I find out she did as I said. It's quite weird. It is not weird. I have observed this facet of human nature in others. Reply. Dennis_1D. Lord Jeremiah. Yeah, I get that. I wanted an ongoing thread for myself because I just wanted the same sort of ongoing help and support and people to follow my progress, as they did his. It did me, to be honest. I figured it would help me out more if I thought I had people watching and following my progress and helping me along my way. I should like to come back here and ask for frequent advice every step of the way because it does seem I need a lot of help. Thanks for clarifying, Lord Jeremiah. Just make sure that we see ongoing evidence that you are taking positive steps to try to improve your situation.
Yeah, right,
Reply.
okay. So about that, above one of the replies that Dennis gave me was, okay, so he said that on the Verge's post, that's another member on the Carers UK thing, I was a bit jealous because people were interacting with him for about 3 years on this one thread that he made. And I remember being quite jealous because my thread wasn't getting as many like replies and like me having interactions with people that his was. Dennis said that he was alarmed by me saying that I was a bit jealous that he had like ongoing replies for about 3 years, because he thought that I meant that I want to just keep like ranting and raving about my situation or something. I thought, no, that's not the reason why I want to continue, like, get more replies and like constant interaction. The reason why is because I wanted, like I've just said there, which is like the help and encouragement along the way. So if it takes 3 years for me to get out of my situation and thinking towards like a more take like positive steps to get me towards my dream life and my freedom, if it takes about 3 years like it did with On the Verge, then I just meant I wanted these people like Bowling Bun and Dennis and Chris and whoever to sort of be with me every step of the way. So if, say, for instance, I got to a point where I was actually in a position to apply for my own house, like to rent a house or whatever, if there was something I need to know and I didn't, I could be talking to them about it. Or I could say, right, I'm doing this, I'm taking these steps now in this positive direction. Like, what do I do now? What else do I need to know about this? What can you recommend? It's like having like people with me every step of the way, because obviously I don't have people in real life that can help me. Hi Jay. I don't know why you deleted that message. It's all right. Haters gonna hate. Yeah, I was just talking about how people hate furries for some reason, and I was just debunking the fact that people think that furries are bestiality or something. And I just want to say that that's not true. If people think that, it's just because of there have been reports of zoophiles within the furry community. But I've got to say that they are not accepted amongst the community. They use the furry community as a way to become accepted for being zoophiles. They use the furry community for that, but it is no way what the furry community stands for or is about. Gotta say, we do not accept zoophiles at all. It's just that there are zoophiles who take it upon themselves to join the furry community, thinking that that will be a good way to get accepted, like a good community to get accepted as a zoophile. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the furry community is got nothing to do with animals, like normal animals. Furries are literally anthropomorphic beings who are part human and part animal. They're mainly human with animal features. It would just be like if us humans went around with cat ears and tails, like for real, or wings. We'd still be what we are, but we'd just look a bit different. That's all furries are. But for some reason, a lot of people equate furries with like normal animals, like this, like an actual animal that doesn't speak, walks on four legs, and is a completely different creature to humans. And think that it's about humans being into animals sexually, and that's not right. It's just people who like to dress as animals, but be like anthropomorphic, so upright animals, literally humans with animal features. And I'm really confused as to why more furries aren't trying to educate like the general public on them and trying to take steps towards becoming accepted in the mainstream community, like the LGBT and other minorities. I understand that the reason for this is because it's completely different, but it's still a big part of who people are if they are a furry, and the fact that that part of them is not accepted can be pretty, oppressive, to be honest. Like, it's been oppressive for me to live in this area where I've not been accepted all these years. And I've had to hide who I am, pretty much. Like, I've had to stop dressing as my animal and, acting and howling and stuff like a wolf or whatever because of the local kids. And I think that that is absolutely disgusting, that I've had to oppress that part of me to act normal just to be like accepted in the area. I'm still not accepted, to be honest. Like, even though I do act more normal, as in I don't go around howling anymore or wearing my ears and tail anymore, I'm still no more accepted than I used to be when I used to do all that stuff. I mean, not that I went out dressed like that anyway, because I didn't. I would just do it around the house and garden. But I've even stopped doing that, and I still not really, like, I get less hassle than I used to, but I'm still not really accepted in the community, in the area. So it's like it's not really made much of a difference. Anyway, let's get on with this because it's getting later. My mom's gonna kill me.
Chris_22081. 1D. Getting used to being up for work often starts with having to get up to go to school.
Yeah, there we go.
You seem to have missed out on that. My nephew decided.
Not true. I actually, like I mentioned earlier on in the live stream, I did discipline myself to get up earlier because I actually started pretending. I started to pretend that I did go to school and like I had stuff to do, which you do have a lot of stuff to do even around the house. So it's a misconception that if you're at home all the time that you have nothing to do. That's not true. I have lots to do. There's cooking and cleaning to do and also doing the things I want to do as well. Anyway, let's see. Just when I thought belly loving is unaccepted, what's wrong with dressing up as your spirit animal? I have no idea, Jay, but that's still a big part of why I'm hated around my area, is because I used to dress as a wolf and howl outside. In the garden, of course, but I didn't do it out and about. When I did wear like tails and ears out and about, people used to love it, to be honest, and became actually disappointed when I stopped doing it. But I explained to them that I stopped doing it pretty much because of the bullies. And that's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting having to change who you are or hide who you are because of Egypts. And I thought that this new world was supposed to be progressive and encouraging people to be more accepting of stuff like that. You know, people who are different. But apparently not. Apparently you're still oppressed. You're still normal. Which is stupid. So everyone else who's different has become accepted, but for some reason not furries. And nobody is making any positive steps towards, you know, making furries more accepted and more acceptable, which is shit. But I'm surprised that the furry community isn't staging a revolution like the LGBT did, whatever you call it, where they sort of start moaning and complaining and saying you gotta accept us, otherwise you're racist or this or that. It's like you're a superhero costume fighting crime. You know, it's not like you're in a superhero costume fighting crime. To be honest, there are people who will literally do that, who literally dress up as a superhero to go out and about. But that's okay, because that's just them being quirky or whatever. Yeah. So how come it's okay for everyone else to be quirky and whatnot, but not me apparently? It's stupid. Anyway, I've got to go. I'm going to be killed by my mum. She's going to moan at me. I'm going to make a part 2 of this because I'm in no way finished talking about this. I want to share with you guys my entire life. But you get to read about it in my autobiography, but I'm going to give you like a sum up of it in my next one. So I've talked about homeschooling in this one, and my furry life, and my carer life. And in the next one I'm going to do a follow-up, and I'll have the thing read off all them posts again of what them people were saying. But they're basically saying that I'm pretty much doomed because I've got no life skills or whatever, because I didn't go to school and even though it's like a load of bollocks. I can't really demonize my mum like these people have been doing, because from all accounts she did do her best. She did what she thought was best. So I can't really. I mean, she did try and push me. She tried to get me into good habits, and she tried to like make sure that I was being educated and stuff. It's not like she neglected that. It's just that the only thing I can say that she really neglected was like encouraging me to be more independent. So like going out on my own. Like she insisted that I was with her all the time, even before I became her carer. So it's like, I will admit that's probably not good, but I did start to, you know, more independence when I was like a bit older, but not as much independence as probably other people got at that age, like 16, 17, 18 and all that sort of ages. I started going around the neighborhood, like going for walks and stuff, but I didn't go out for like hours and hours and hours like other teenagers got to do. And thank you very much for the compliments, guys. And in the next one I will show you more of my art. I showed a bit of my art in this one. I'll show you this art just real quick. I know I've shown it to you before, but let's have you look at it again. It's cute. Small steps to get more independence. Indents. You said indents. You're funny. Don't worry, I'll start dressing like an animal again. It's just that it's been too cold lately. I've not really wanted to do it, so it's just been too cold and I couldn't be bothered doing it, especially because my eczema's like really bad. Who's got the cutest pet on the internet? I have. This one's so cute. I better go now, otherwise I'm going to get moaned at. I think my mum's gone to sleep. I love this one. Look how cute that is. Yeah, sweet. Round fluffer puffer uffer puffers. Oh no, she's got rid of it. What has she done with it? Just have the Christmas stuff up. I was trying to show you the other fluffer puffer, but she's taking it down now. My dad got me this bear for Valentine's Day one year. I literally found that, and I found the part in my diary where my dad actually gave this to me. And I was like, I didn't realise my dad got this for me. I thought my mum gave that to me, to be honest. I forgot. Kittens. And look, there's the dog. As you can see, he's neglected and abused. Look at how unhealthy he looks. Not. He was bloody well spoilt, this dog. And in winter he got covered up because it was freezing in the house. Alright, I better go now. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you like my furry stuff. I will continue to wear that later on. I'm glad you like it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and become a Patreon, because I've only got 4 Patreons now, and that's really sad.